The microphones are very sensitive. Paper wrestling and shuffling of things, it'll definitely pick up, even walking in the hall, just as a reminder as we have our, what I think is our final EDI meeting of the year. So, you've all done great. So EDI call to order. Let's do roll call.
Commissioners Johnson.
Present.
Whiteper.
I'm here.
Markham.
Here.
Miller.
Happy to be here.
Rahman.
Present.
Long.
Here.
Spiz is absent with notice. Smith Charles.
Present. Thank you. Let us stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our fourth item on the agenda is to approve approval of the minutes dated November 8th, 2023. Commissioner Markham moves to approve those and supported by Commissioner Long. Any discussion? Seeing none, we can prompt the vote.
Figures. Wait, sorry, guys. This is meals, I think.
You have 7 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries. Item 5 is the approval of the agenda. I'll accept the motion to approve. Moved by Johnson, supported by Whiteford. Seeing no discussion, I will prompt the vote.
Right. And so,
You have 7 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you. That motion carries. Item 6 on the agenda, everyone's favorite, public comment. And we are open for anyone from the public who might like to address this committee. There's a 3-minute max per speaker related only to items on the agenda. Is anyone here to
yes, we do have people.
speak during public comment?
There is people. So, you wanna probably go up here, right?
Yes, please, if you would mind.
Back on your numbers. You're the data guy, I'm the heart guy.
All right.
It's,
I'm sorry, where do I?
Yeah,
Just
right
you
in
can
the
go sit
middle.
down, Dan, if you wanna sit down.
And if you wouldn't mind, a brief introduction so we'll know who you are.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
And if we could help him with the paper passing so that we
that'd be
can,
Hey, David.
I'll start the timer when you start talking.
You just pass that, yes.
Yeah.
Pass it. Okay. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Got the one.
Thank you for supportive material.
There you go. Okay. Good morning, esteemed members of the committee. I'm Michael Shostak, the Bloomfield Township Treasurer. Before you today is items H and I, our policy and budget amendment for Township Subdivision Road SADs. I applaud the committee for taking up this policy. As some of you know, townships are not eligible for Act 51 funding from the state because townships, unlike cities, do not own their roads. They're owned by the county. Therefore, it is the county's responsibility to maintain roads. Of all the townships remaining in Oakland County, we are by far the oldest. In fact, our 200th anniversary is coming up in 4 years. We were settled first and we developed first. The roads in the Bloomfield Village neighborhood are 75 years old. And as they reach functional obsolescence, we acknowledge that neither the county nor the road commission will be coming to replace our roads. As such, we have educated and worked with our residents to go through the process of creating road special assessment districts. We were notified by RCOC that $2 million of county funds are available for road SADs and that they submitted all 8 of their 2024 projects to the commission for funding. My colleagues and I are left befuddled as to why a formula was created to fund 6 of the 8 projects, leaving Bloomfield's 2 projects shut out and leaving over $700,000 unallocated. The formula calculates the density of each project and sets the cutoff at 75 houses per mile. Why 75? Why not 70? Why not 80? It might surprise you to learn that both of our projects have a density of 74 houses per mile. Since Waterford's Otter Hills project has a density of just 68 homes per mile, less than our projects and the arbitrary 75, the second part of the formula was added that states projects less than 75 in density must be less than 1 mile of road length, which covers Otter Hills, but our 2 projects, which have more road length, do not qualify. Is this methodology arbitrary, or was it designed to specifically exclude the 2 Bloomfield projects? Given the size and complexity of replacing roads that are 75 years old, Our two projects result in homeowner assessments of $42,000 and $48,000. These costs dwarf the assessments in the 6 projects presented to you for funding today. So why are our tax-paying residents with the highest assessments not getting any help? In the handout, I provide 3 alternative ways of allocating this $2 million in funding. One is allocating an equal $1,823 for each homeowner across all projects. Second is allocating funds based on the size of the project in miles. And third is to allocate funding based on the cost of each project. I would make the argument that this money should be used to help all homeowners defray the cost of these SADs based on their total assessment. Doing the math, that means that each homeowner would see a savings of 7% on their total assessment. In short, I implore the committee to revise this policy before approving it to include Bloomfield Township's 2 SADs in this year's funding application. And thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Shostak, thank you.
That's good.
Good morning.
Hi there. So I'm Danny Walsh, I'm the Township Supervisor for Bloomfield. We're a good pair because Michael gives you all the numbers and I give you the emotions of my people. So I get to cut a lot of this out because I already explained that we have 75-year-old roads. That's a huge difference in funding. So personally, we've been taking on these projects and trying to explain why are we paying $10 to $15 million for projects when others just have $2 million projects. And that's because back then they used to put a road on top of a road on top of a road. So this area that we're working on, there's actually 5 phases. Only 2 have been approved. It took almost 13 years because it is hard to explain. If the county had money, they'd give it to you. They don't have any money. It took 10 years to make that argument. I now have to go to them and say, the county has money. We were so excited. So we got some yes votes and we finally passed it. Based on the county has money, they'll think of us. Unfortunately, we were not thought of. And that is hard for my residents to understand because again, they're paying 4 to 5 times more. $48,000. We have the largest senior population. So realize that's going to knock people out of their homes. They are going to be forced out of their homes. I've lived there my entire life, 51 years. I know these people, they cannot afford that, but they did it because if you had money, you would help. They now see that, again, it did come across as punitive of, oh, well, Bloomfield doesn't need the money. They've got Matt Ishbia. He is one of my 45,000 residents. I also have thousands that were getting lunch assistance. I have people that can't afford Thanksgiving. So I'm begging you, don't look at Bloomfield as they're rich, they don't need it. Look at Bloomfield as 45,000 residents that are subsidizing your infrastructure willingly because you didn't have money and we were here to help. We're now asking you now that you have money, treat us the same as others. Whichever formula you would have used, we would have gotten $250,000. Because if you would have granted, again, look at us as Durham. Forget Otter Hills, because God forbid somebody knock out Otter Hills and change a formula. That would be even worse. Because we're not saying to knock anyone out. Unlike Michael, I'm asking for fairness. Don't knock anyone out. You have 8 projects and you still have money left over if you were to give us $250,000 for each project. That's still less than 10% of our projects. Because 10% would be over $1 million. I'm not even asking for 10%, and I'm not asking you to knock somebody out because that would be horrific and selfish. And I'm not asking for that. I am begging you, help me pass these other 3, which affects almost 1,000 homeowners in the oldest area with the oldest roads, and say, look, they had money, they helped. Because God forbid you leave us out, I will not be able to pass SADs because now I don't have an argument for why we're not getting help. So that's what my ask is. Don't knock anyone out. Don't treat me any differently. Just give me the same afforded opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public comment? Seeing no one rising and moving towards the microphones, I will call public comment, this first one closed. Which takes us to item 7, excuse me, in our on our agenda, which is communications. And
Motion to receive and file.
a motion to receive and file is in order.
I make the motion to receive and file.
Second.
Moved by Whiteford, second by Long. Let's prompt the vote.
On the receive and file?
Receive
Yeah.
and file.
You can include this in the communications before.
Yes,
Yeah,
let's,
a motion to receive and file, including what I just received.
yes, that would be great.
Good, yes.
So without objection, we can prompt the vote.
This is item 7.
Yes.
Yes, plus what he gave,
So it'd be A, B, and A, B, C, D.
Class, I can't see any.
You have 7 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion carries to receive and file our communications, A, B, C, and D. Next is a presentation from Main Street Program. And I believe Jennifer, well, actually, I don't know who's presenting. I'll have you introduce
Brett,
yourself.
maybe.
Oh,
Maybe
Steve Brett,
Brett,
yes. Thank you.
It's on here.
Team over here. Yeah.
It's on here. Presentation's on there. I
Good
forgot.
morning.
Good morning.
Great to see you. Brett needs no introduction, but if you wouldn't mind, please introducing yourself and your colleague.
Brett Rassigan, the Manager of Planning and Local Business Development, and with me is John Bry. He's the Administrator of our Local Business Development Unit and our Main Street Program Manager. I would like to quickly introduce Annika Norris at the far end. Annika works closely with John on Main Street, and Kelly Westbrook. Kelly is the DDA Executive Director and Local Main Street Manager for Oxford. So if you have questions of a client of our services, Kelly is a good person to answer those questions.
That's different. Yeah.
I usually start when I do these with a quick overview of the department, so I remind people of how we fit in. There's 6 divisions within the Economic Development Department. We are one of 6, Planning and Local Business Development. John, as I mentioned, is the administrator of the Local Business Development Unit, and that's where Main Street sits in John's unit. John also oversees our Historic Preservation Program as well. All of the programs in the unit focus on place and quality of place, whether it's land use and zoning, preservation, environmental stewardship, or our downtown program that John manages. Main Street fundamentally is an economic development program that is built upon historic preservation and placemaking. The goals are thriving, viable, economically sustainable downtowns, walkable downtowns. We also work with commercial corridors in Oakland County, and John will touch on that. We follow the principles of the Main Street program that was established nationally in the 1980s. Our program started in 2000. We are the only county-level coordinating program in the nation. There's 46 programs nationally. Most are state level. There's a couple of large city programs. We're the only county-level coordinating program. County staff are recognized leaders in the field in the state and nationally, and I have to refer to my notes here. Both John and Annika are nationally certified in Main Street management. Annika is also on the board of directors of the Michigan Downtown Association. John is on the National Leadership Council for Main Street, and he also received in 2023 the Mary Means Leadership Award. One person is selected nationally of all the Main Street programs across the nation, and John was selected this year. Ron Campbell, our preservation architect, was just appointed to his 3rd term on the Barrier Free Review Board. He was first appointed under Governor Snyder and 2 terms under Governor Whitmer. So Ron is responsible for reviewing exceptions to the Barrier Free ordinance at the state level. And that's where my knowledge runs out, and I pass it to John Bry.
That's not true. He is trainable. So as Brett mentioned, Main Street actually began in the 1980s. There's still the Main Street America, the national coordinating body that we all are connected to or designated by, now known as Main Street America. And the Main Street approach basically follows 4 points, and some of you've heard me say this joke before. It's easy to remember because they spell dope, the 4 points. But this is an important piece because it feels like over the years, and I've been doing this for 30 years around the country, is that over time, people start to characterize the Main Street effort as just those promotion people. They do the events downtown, or they're the placemaking people. They make everything look pretty downtown. And actually, is partly true, but there's another very important pieces that they're working on as well that sometimes doesn't get the attention. So the 4 points quickly: economic vitality. I'm old enough to remember when it was called economic restructuring, but it builds a diverse economic base, catalyzes smart new investment, cultivating strong entrepreneur ecosystem. That gets into everything in terms of building rehab, redevelopment, small business support, market analysis, economic development strategies for the districts. All those things fit under the EV category. Design, pretty self-explanatory. Anything physical about the district, including the historic preservation piece that Brett mentioned, falls under design. Promotion, promoting the district's assets. That comes in special events, that comes in retail events, that comes in the form of image campaigns, but promoting the district overall to consumers, residents, and visitors. And the last one, a really important one, is the organization. And different Main Street programs around the country have different organizational vehicles, but they're all following this recipe. They're all following this basic framework, but their organizational models may look different. And a big important part of that is a lot of it is volunteer driven. All the Main Street organizations across Oakland County have volunteers that are involved. It's not just one person or one paid staff person. There's our communities. We have 27 communities currently designated in the Main Street program. They're at different levels, select, partner, and allied. And what that basically means, depending on where they are designated within the program, kind of dictates where we can give the priority of our time and services and capacity to support those communities. But we try to strive and work with all of them and work with them at their pace and where they are. We feel that's a really important piece that makes us stand out as a coordinating program, that we try to keep pace with them and where they're going with their districts. And you can kind of see the map there where they are related to select, partner, ally.
Ferndale, Rochester.
Yep, Ferndale, Rochester, thank you for reminding me that. Ferndale, Rochester, every year Main Street America puts a call out for Great American Main Street applications, and there's a national jury pool. They select 3 communities nationally. Rochester and Ferndale have both won the Great American Main Street Award in the past.
Aw, how nice.
We hope to see some more from Oakland County on that stage. So here's who the communities are in terms of the downtown management organizations that are all following the Main Street program. Michigan is a little bit unusual that they have so many downtown development authorities. You don't see that very much around the country in a lot of different states. So we have downtown development authorities, we have the corridor improvement authorities, tax increment finance authorities, principal shopping districts, nonprofit organizations, which actually is the dominant model for a lot of Main Street programs around the country, local government-driven organizations, and combinations, all the above. An example of a combination of all the above is Rochester. They have a downtown development authority, they have a principal shopping district, and they have a nonprofit wing, but they're all being managed collectively together. An example of a locally government driven is Franklin. Franklin has sort of a contract for services agreement between the Main Street Franklin organization and their local village government. Nonprofit examples, Clarkston is coming online as a nonprofit, downtown Pontiac is a nonprofit, and the Huron Corridor in Pontiac is also a nonprofit. So we literally have examples of all the above that we work with. What we do in general as a Main Street program, we provide a lot of technical assistance. Annika and I could probably not tell you, we're on the phone or out in the field all the time. It is amazing how many emails we get. I mean, we can leave our desk for 15 minutes and you come back like, oh my God, what happened? There's like 50 emails all of a sudden. So we get a lot of technical assistance. We get calls on everything about board assistance, small business support. The manager would like us to talk to a small business in their district. We get calls about, can you come to this committee meeting and do a training for us about that? Do you have a resource for this? I just got a phone call from New Hudson Lyon Township yesterday that they're looking for help on crosswalk design for a new project they're doing. I took a call last night from a gentleman in Troy who's looking to buy a building in downtown Pontiac, and he was looking for some guidance on help on what to do there, what assistance he could get. So Ron is our lone sole architect, and he is just slammed with the design assistance requests that he gets all across the county from the Main Street communities, because that's part of what we do, that he provides that support to businesses, property owners, the local governments, the downtown management organizations for items related to Main Street, of giving them facade concepts, accessibility, ADA issues, all those things that we provide for design assistance. Small business support, we lean on our partners as the local downtown management organizations to kind of pick and choose where the help should go there and what they want to do. So sometimes we provide some funding to them that they may bring in Zingerman's as an example and do a training on customer service to all their downtown businesses that we help support and partner with them do. Or they may want us to meet one-on-one with someone or have some office hours that we go out and do in the districts. But we take the lead on our direct small business support through them. And that falls into the training as well. Funding and funding assistance, we have limited funding that we provide out to them, to the Main Street communities on everything from, I want to develop a master plan for redesigning our alleys. We did that in Royal Oak a couple years ago where they designed a whole master plan for reimagining their alleyways. We want to do a training and we want to bring the speaker in. Can we get some funding for that? Or we want to implement a placemaking type project. So we provide a lot of funding assistance on a variety of topics.
The typos are mine, by the way, not John's. And there's a lot of them, so.
Accreditation, Main Street America, we're getting ready to go into accreditation season in January and February. We only review the select level communities, that's our highest tier. So this is part of a process that we do as a coordinating program and as Main Street America, that we go through a full day-long review of where they are as a program, and we help them kind of talk through some issues, but they meet 6 different standards that the National Main Street Center has identified. And if they're largely meeting those standards, then they're nationally accredited and recognized. And there's some benefits with that there are some grants that are available that come because they're accredited communities.
And John?
Yeah.
It pains me to interrupt you, but I do need us to quickly move through this presentation, only because we have such a large agenda.
We're about done.
Thank you.
We track the stats. Right now, we only track the stats from the select level communities, but that's gonna change because we don't think it gives us a full picture. And then we have an ongoing liaison. All the Main Street staff are liaisons. There's our different type of downtowns, traditional downtowns, South Lyon, new emerging downtowns, Auburn Hills, historic commercial corridors, Hazel Park. We have our Urban Maine initiative. You can see the communities there that we focus on. Those are communities that traditionally have been disadvantaged or disproportionately affected, so we try to lean in more with them. These communities, Farmington, Ferndale, Rochester, Royal Oak, are advanced communities. They're mature programs. They have robust budgets, staff, a lot of development going on, so we're kind of looking to evolve them in some way. We have a grant program and partnership that we created with Genesis Main Street. And these are some of the businesses we've supported over the last few years. We have another one that we created with Flagstar Bank for facade and placemaking, cool before and after there in Berkeley. The mural that we paid for, obviously in Holly. We're kind of the leaders on Shop Small Saturday, which actually started with Main Street America 10 years ago that we just wrapped up. And we got Genesis Credit Union to be the sponsor on the prize money that's awarded through that. And then we're one of the first, we are the first Main Street effort in Michigan and one of the few in the nation that has launched the Shop OC Main Streets that's focused on an online shopping e-commerce platform for the downtowns. We currently have 10 communities that are part of that.
That's good.
So it's cool. So it's our answer to Amazon. So there's no reason to shop Amazon. There's our stats from 2022. Again, these are just from the select level communities. We're gonna be changing that next year and try to capture more stats from the other communities. And this is where we've been since the program was launched in 2021. So over $1 billion in cumulative public and private investment since its launch. And that's it. Sorry.
I love those photos.
Oh, that's good.
You don't give me a lot of time.
Yeah,
I know.
we
And
like
it's such a
passionate
rich,
people.
rich conversation, and I learned a bunch just in this presentation because I wasn't quite sure about the whole Main Street piece. I do see a board member who has a question, Gwen Markham. Floor is
Yes,
yours.
thank you, Madam Chair. Does each Main Street community have a person who is designated as their Main Street coordinator?
Yes, that's one of the levels that they need to get to be a select level community, that they have a dedicated full-time staff person working on Main Street. It is truly a full-time job, even in some of the smallest communities. So yes, most of them have at least one designated person for that role.
Right.
Okay, and then does it cost a community to join a Main Street become a Main Street organization?
From the county, no. The only cost that we ask them to do as Main Street communities, especially at the select level, that they join Main Street America, the national organization.
Okay.
And that's a $475 annual membership. Other than that, there's no cost for our services or support.
Okay, those were my two questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Rahman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two quick questions. If you go back to the flow chart at the very beginning, there's just a clarification question from my own knowledge. There's, I think, business development and local business development were next to each other. And I just wanted to maybe understand. It was the very first slide, if I'm not mistaken.
Your org chart.
Yeah, org chart, yeah. So business development, and the second one was planning and local business development. So I just wanted to make sure I understood that distinction.
The planning and local business development is my division, and the idea of calling it local is those businesses within the Main Street towns. That's the connection.
Okay.
The broader business development under Lewis and Dom or Gene could speak to that. That's countywide, all business sectors.
Got it. So it's not the small
Typically
business, that's
larger,
like big,
typically
big
larger.
business.
And it's primarily non-traded clusters at the local development level, like mom and pop stores and whereas it's more manufacturing, traded clusters at
Got
the.
it, perfect, thank you. And then the other question I had for you is, I think you mentioned the presentation, maybe it was in the packet, something about, infrastructure and crosswalks and things like that. Where does that come into play? Because I know that's one of the issues that we've been kicking around, at least in my district, as it relates to many different groups or parts of Oakland County. So I don't know if that's worth mentioning or
Yeah.
kind of.
Walkability.
Yeah, it's walkability for the districts that we want to stress, and some of them are more walkable than others. And they're working towards chipping away at that and improving that walkability efforts in terms of pedestrian safety. Sometimes it's a bad word in the community, but road diets. They shrink the roads to allow for bike lanes and on-street parking and kind of do that traffic calming aspect. Highlighted streetscapes, walkability, crosswalk piece, public gathering spaces. So all that infrastructure would fall under the design component of Main Street. And all of the communities have different goals and priorities in that regard of things that they're tackling and addressing. Some of them are long-term big projects and some are sort of short, lighter, cheaper, quicker placemaking elements.
If it relates to the transit question and some of the crosswalks, we have a draft of an evaluation process that we'll start using with we can use them with all the Main Street communities, or really with any community that has an extensive list of transit supportive projects. A member of the transit division, a member of my division will meet with communities, do an audit on what they're doing relative to transit and transit supportive projects, tally up their costs related to those, and then compare it to their bump and TIF revenue due to the millage. So I think we got a process started to evaluate and answer your question, Mr. Chairman.
And following in my order, I have.
Pretty
you're-
good.
You're all set?
Absolutely, thank you.
Brendan, and then followed by Chairman Woodward, who is here, just FYI, ex officio, so welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just kind of following up on that, because you hit on something, I'm curious how much you leverage best practices, or like what the county would love to see, or what works really well in other DDAs in terms of actual policy making at the local level. I'm thinking zoning, parking minimums, like all those things that actually do have a really big effect on walkability and economic development at the local level.
Well, that's a good thing with Main Street America. We're part of this national network, so there's a lot of R&D in the Main Street world to rip off and duplicate, because there's not a community out there that hasn't probably already been thinking of that or done that. We're in the same boat. So we have a lot of expertise, like Annika on the staff spent 14 years as a parking consultant and probably was involved in some of the parking studies in some of our Main Street communities in the past. So we have that parking expertise. If the communities ever want to have that conversation, that we can help from a staff standpoint. And if we don't know the answer right off in terms of an expert or a professional or best practice that we can point to, we turn to that network nationally and kind of put out the call or conversation, or I may pick up the phone and say, hey, I think Brianne has had this happen in her communities out in Washington State. I'm gonna call Brianne out in Washington and say, hey, this community is going through this. Didn't you guys have this going on in Washington State and so your Main Street communities? How did they address that? So we're always tracking those best practices and utilizing that network if we don't have the expertise necessarily or all the answers in-house right off the top of our heads.
Okay, only nuance, is it always reactionary on our front, or is it ever proactive on the county's front? Like, hey, I think you might have a problem here.
One area where it comes up is another function within the division. It's the review of local master plans. So when we review a plan that comes to the county for amendment or adoption, We review that plan based on the programs and services we offer. So we look at Main Street support, trail and open space support. So that's our avenue to get at that at the policy level within the plan document in areas where we participate, where we have a Main Street town. But we also look in areas of communities that aren't in Main Street and where applicable recommend that they explore joining. So that's our primary connection, I think, to what you're asking is through the review process.
And related to that, because of our liaisons that we're always out in the communities all the time, we're having conversations with the local downtown management organizations or their local leadership, and an issue may come up or we may see something like, hey, have you guys thought about this or looking at this? And we can only push them to do so much so fast, but we do bring it up in a proactive nature too, where those reviews for accreditation, also good opportunities that we can bring things up that we see at that time.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Woodward.
He answered it.
My question is mostly answered.
Great, that's how teams work.
Good, he had done.
Then I believe we are receiving this, or?
Yeah, take a motion.
Yeah, let's take a motion to receive this presentation, moved by Long, supported by Rahman. And without further
Thank you.
discussion, we'll go ahead and prompt the vote.
Thank you.
And we will, through the chair, make sure that Mr. Andrews or Aaron can get us your contact information, these two support folks who you mentioned in the presentation, in case we want to guide folks in the right direction. So, thank you.
You got 8 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda, item 9. There are 5, I believe. Yes, 5 items under consent. And I'll accept a motion to approve those, moved by Whitebird, supported by Johnson.
I have one.
Discussion, yes, Blanc?
Just one question. All the communities are okay with all 5 of these, with these amendments, all, right, correct? The providers are all good with these amendments. I just wanted to make sure.
And Eli Cooper's on if we need additional insight.
Agency.
I'm assuming, but I like to ask before I vote yes, so.
Yes, we have coordinated very closely with all 5 of the operators and providers in order to bring this forward for your consideration.
Okay, and they're all on board, right? They're good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Whitebird?
And we've got the transportation committee and we've been going through and working closely, and Eli is awesome and his team and keeping us, and we thank him for everything he's doing, and all our providers are awesome too. It's really happening, right? So
Excellent.
Kim's here from WODA.
Oh, and she,
Kim,
getting to
good
know her.
morning. Anything else before we prompt the vote?
Oh, I'm sure.
Summarize.
Yes, please.
I mean, yeah, we've had a really good year so far. I got a little bit emotional because it was right before Thanksgiving too that we had our transit meeting, so I was thanking everyone for all their work. So you'll all remember that we had a 3-year appropriation plan that we did this year, and then we were doing 1 year at a time authorizations. So this is the 2024 kind of lessons learned from our first 4, which was SMART, NODA, WODA, OPC, and then also the 5th one, which was the People's Express that came along later. So this is all 5 of those for the 2024, taking into lessons learned. People's Express changed to leased because we knew actually quite a bit going into that one in the first place. The other 4 did change quite a bit with lessons learned. Financially, so this is going to finance after this. I don't think that there are really big changes with People's Express, SMART, or People's Express, NODA, WODA, and OPC. We kind of, like, that all kind of makes sense, and happy to go into details if you want. With the SMART one, the only really big flag is that we had appropriated for expansion that some of it happened, some of it in the south end of the town did happen. Some of it did not happen in calendar year 2023. So the money that we appropriated to fund that expansion, we're just going to carry over into the new year so that it can fund the expansion in the new year. So that's the only big appropriations change.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Mr. Chair.
Just to follow up on Commissioner Johnson's point, lengthy conversation in the Transit Oversight Committee. There's some provision in here to allow for, with the approval of the manager of our transit office, to move some things within a certain parameter from one line item to another as long as it fits within the parameter. For instance, that there might need maybe some less need for salary, and there's a huge need for capital investment for your vehicle to improve ridership. I think in the context of all of this, and we shouldn't lose sight of it, there has been a massive surge in utilization in all of these services. Eli gave a great presentation and overview. I know the individual agencies are, struggling to tread water because of the demand for service. I think it opened and exposed that I think many of us knew that there was a lot of unmet need out there as these agencies have really stepped into the space to do more, provide more rides, go further distances. We've seen a massive utilization increase, and these contracts position us to build more alignment so that the rider experience around the county is similar. Cost structures similar. There's a quarterly payment schedule. There's some modifications based on when an organization's expenses come due, and so some might have a little bit more in the front end, but working to a quarterly disbursement as we kind of live into this model of a fee for service. We collect the millage, we're purchasing transit services from these 5 agencies that are without question delivering more rides than ever before, getting people to further distance than ever before, and meeting the needs of those that either don't have other options or choose to use these options. I prefer to speak with music. People listen more. So that's, you can go into the detail of this. I believe there was also a really good summary presentation that I'm sure Brendan can circulate around to everybody that just gives a nice high-level summary of all these things. It's pretty, it is amazing of what has been accomplished in just 1 year. And this doesn't use 100% of the allocation of resources, and the transit staff, I just want to commend them as the professionalism and expertise that they bring to this space, working to make sure that we're leveraging every available matching dollar that's out there to improve the transit experience here across Oakland County.
Very good to hear, and I definitely tip my hat, I'm sure all of my EDI committee members do, to the transit folks. Raise your hand if you're at the table. I believe, all of you for the most part in some form or fashion, even William leading in some manner. I see you at meetings all the time. But thank you all, because
He's a road guy.
heavy is the head that wears the crown for these things. So I appreciate the hard work and the team. And I believe we are prepared for our prompting of the vote.
You have 8 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries. Thank you. Consent agenda moves forward, and we will head into item 10 under regular agenda, which is the Water Resource Commissioner contract extension with Harris Computer Systems for maintenance of the North Star software application. I'll take a motion to A and B?
Yeah.
Great. I'd like to take A and B at the same time. Water Resource Commissioner contract extension with InfoSend for utility billing, print, and mailing services, moved by Johnson, supported by Miller. Welcome, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Nancy Bash, Business Systems Manager for the WRC.
Kelsey Koch, Manager and Chief Legal Officer.
Brian Coburn, one of the managers at WRC.
Today, the WRC is seeking approval to extend its contract with Harris Computer Systems. We use its North Star utility billing solution to provide billing for 16 cities, villages, and townships throughout the county. We're seeking a 1-year extension to 12/31/24. This extension would allow us to continue operations while we complete the implementation of a new utility billing system called SpryPoint. The new SpryPoint system will ultimately provide easier integration with other systems provide easy-to-use customer service portal for reviewing bill status, bill payment, and will allow us to better manage affordability programs. Harris agrees to bill us quarterly and will allow us to cancel with notice so that we can tailor our North Star services to our needs. Are there any questions?
InfoSend, they're gonna do them
Oh,
together.
do them together, I'm sorry.
Yep, just
We're also seeking approval to extend the InfoSend contract. That is our bill print and mailing services vendor. We're seeking an 11-month extension to 12/31/24 as is North Star's. Excuse me. North Star, the WRC's current billing system, produces a data file containing billing data that is passed to InfoSend, which creates the bills and mails them. That's why we'd like both of these contracts to be coterminous.
To be
coterminous, ending at the same date.
Okay, that's a great word. Thank you so much.
It is a good word, I like it. It's a word of the day.
Yeah.
It is now. Sorry to interrupt. Please proceed.
The extension would allow us to continue our existing operations as we do with North Star while we complete the implementation of the new billing system. We plan to implement in April of 2024.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm just verifying if I have any board members with
I
questions.
had my hand up, let me get that.
Okay, Phil Wiper, please.
All right, thanks. I noticed in there it says it's not to exceed,
Yes,
and once the go live date happens, they can terminate that, so.
it would even be
April,
much
it could,
better.
I mean, you're giving yourself to 12/31/24,
Yes,
but it could be April.
yeah, that's correct. Yes.
That's the hope, you're gonna go live and.
Yeah, and that's why we're excited that they gave us that option to terminate early.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller.
Thank you. I've been part of a lot of different changes of systems. Are we able to keep the system they currently have when the newest system's implemented, just in case there's any hiccups, just to give us that
this will ensure that and provide extra
Yes.
insurance, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
That's all, yeah.
We are absolutely considering that.
You know, technology, right? It's supposed to make our lives easier, but.
It's too hard to build. It's very easy to take down and very hard to build back up
No
again.
doubt, yeah. I just want to make sure, because I know that
Yes.
it's happened before in the past with
Doesn't
different
equal
organizations.
63 million.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No problem. Any other questions? I do want to just ask in terms of our IT connection here. Do you guys coordinate this with IT in any manner?
Yes, we did. In fact, in the packet, I've included an email from Rod Davenport, the CIO of Oakland County Information Technology.
Great, because then that means my underlying always question is just ownership of data, who has access to it, do we maintain control, those types of things. And of course HIPAA, if it's involved at all with medical stuff. But yeah, I don't see any other questions and I'm happy to have the prompting of the vote. This is on item 10A and B.
What happens to the other 20 million? What happens to the other 20 million? Because don't we generate 64 million? Does it just stay there? Where is it? Yeah.
Yeah, 8 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Takes us to item C, which is the economic development reorg of classifications and positions. I believe we have an assembly of folks coming around. Okay, great.
I have some handouts that pass out.
Yes.
Good morning. Some costs.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
To delete.
That's gracious.
Some cost things.
I'll take a motion to open 10 seats. Moved by Wyford, supported by Miller.
Sweater suits.
Thank you.
Should have sent me a
We'll
message.
rustle these papers and then you can start your chatting.
Okay.
Ooh, another org chart.
Yes.
Jeez.
Thank you.
Thank you. right, I think we can get started. Thank you for being here. I know who you are, but please introduce yourselves.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jean Broad. I'm the Director of Economic Development.
Appreciate you.
And this is
I'm Dom Holmes. I'm the Manager of Economic Development Initiatives for Economic Development.
And so we're here today because we want to review with you our proposed changes in the organizational structure for our department. Over the past 6 months, we've made some changes within the existing classifications and open positions as we were able to. But in some cases, this meant moving somebody into a position with a wrong title. So at this point, we want to finalize those moves, get the correct titles, and in addition, at this point, add some additional new positions. I will say that the changes we're suggesting are gonna be net neutral on the budget, because although they're, our estimate is that there'll be an additional cost of some $33,000 from general revenues for the salaries. This is gonna be offset by some minor changes in the rest of our budget. And there are some changes that come out of special revenue funds. And I would also mention that some of the materials you've gotten from finance may be incorrect and have to be modified before the full board meeting. There were some mistakes made in the names attached. So these are very minor. I don't think it's gonna. Jennifer who? I think it.
Where is he at?
But in any event, we can go into that in a little bit. First of all, I wanted to say that the first move that we wanted to make is to have Jennifer Llewellyn, who's over here, who manages our workforce development, report directly to Sean Carlson instead of to me. She would have a dotted line with me for coordination purposes, but currently Jennifer is managing some 32 federal grants and which are that have a value of some $26.4 million. And so most of her budget is in these special revenue items. Only a very small portion is really included within the economic development budget. So for those reasons, we're proposing having her report directly to Sean. The second major change would be to create a new position as a deputy director. And that position, which would be filled by Dom Holmes, who's sitting here to my left,
Right here.
would initially the main thrust of that would be responsibility for the marketing, external relations, and also the special economic development projects, which include management of the Thrive contract, our Project Diamond, and some of our other key initiatives that are underway right now. The reason we'd like to have that as a deputy director position is marketing is a particularly major initiative for us right now. We're going through a process of revamping the microsite for economic development to make it much more user-friendly and really reflect the assets of the community. This is important both for attracting business investment to the county, but also in terms of for the companies that are here so they can understand how to find things, what our projects are. And so it's a major initiative, and Don has been working on this for the past 6 months and well into the work on that. On the other side, we had recently merged two of our units, the domestic and international business attraction unit that I used to lead, plus the emerging growth and innovation unit, which Dom used to lead, into one business attraction unit. And this was done for several reasons. One, as we find it's much more competitive world out there in terms of attracting business investment, we really need more really insightful expertise in the industries we're trying to attract. And so the division previously, we had our mobility expertise over on Dom's side, but we were out, doing business attraction, and sometimes that led to some conflicts. And so that we feel by merging the two together, we can coordinate better, limit and actually reduce the amount of travel, because we could have one person covering various events instead of two. So it just made a whole lot more sense, and so far is working very smoothly. So that unit is now being run by Michael Abdallah, who's would be becoming the administrative business attraction. And within his unit, we have 2 promotions that we would like to make. One is to promote John Wolfmeyer, who's a senior business development representative, into a business attraction coordinator to take on more of the administrative and coordination responsibilities within that unit. And secondly, to create a new position called a mobility business development coordinator that Chris Olson would fill. Chris has been doing our mobility work to date. And this is key because mobility is one of the key industries we're trying to attract right now. And Chris has been coordinating a number of very specialized initiatives, working with pilots, external organizations, and having a lot more external relations role in the role that he's taken on. So that would be a new position that's being created.
I would add, regarding John and Chris, that this is also about retention of key staff. John is a very important player for us in terms of business attraction, has significant relationships overseas with a lot of our partners on the business attraction front, and has had twice amount of success doing that work. In a very similar way, Chris Olson has had a lot of success courting mobility companies, working on initiatives related to mobility, including an announcement that will soon be made regarding a green hydrogen project in the county. So it's for us about trying to retain those key staff members.
Next, on Veteran Services, we are creating a new position of Veteran Services Grant Coordinator, which would be filled by Tyrone Jordan, who's sitting right over here. Tyrone has taken in the past year, I suppose, the key role in managing the state grant that we have to fund veteran services. And he has done an incredible lot to enhance that grant and provide additional services and make it really expand the reach of that grant. So in recognition of that, we want to create this new position for Tyrone to do that. And he will continue to take on some additional ways to further enhance our veteran services. And I think finally, and Jennifer, back to Jennifer Llewellyn's group. Jennifer currently has a position for a half-time staff assistant that was just vacated earlier this month. And she wants to convert that from a half-time to a full-time position. Jennifer, did you want to say anything on that? Yeah.
It's would be covered through federal grants that we have. And as Jean mentioned, we're just under the $30 million mark. So increasing that from a part-time to a full-time position would be a huge help to us just for capacity reasons, but we do have the revenue to cover 100% of that change.
So that's it, and so we're hoping that the board will concur with our proposal.
Thank you so much. There's a few people in line to get questions in. I'm gonna recognize in this order, Long, Miller, Woodward, unless he wants to allow Markham to go before him, but in that order.
Okay, mine's quick. So all these position changes, and there's a couple promotions and new positions are budget neutral?
Yes.
Okay, because this one is a grant's gonna pay for the vacant one that she wants to, that Jennifer wants to bump up to full-town.
She has the money available in her grant.
Okay, so everything's budget neutral and it's title changes, some promotion and a few new positions.
Yes.
Okay, that's my question. Just wanna make sure that it's in the budget.
Thank you, and next is Commissioner Miller. Can we get this in a digital format?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First I have to say is I traveled the state of Michigan and we have one of the best Michigan Works manager in Jennifer Llewellyn. We don't pay her enough. I hope she's on the raise part of this.
Especially during COVID.
Everywhere I go, everybody talks about her. Even if they might not know I'm a commissioner or wherever I'm at, 'cause in my other job capacity, they talk about Oakland County. They're like, oh, if you've never met Jennifer Llewellyn, you need to meet her. She's setting the standard, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate her. Also, one thing that I'm proud that since I got elected to this commission, that I've seen more internal promotion, which is amazing, which is great, which I do appreciate that, because it gives that, like you said, team building, right? The retention, because they feel like, well, if I'm not going anywhere, I might as well go somewhere else. I do appreciate that. And then these other positions, so for your position, are you gonna fill the manager position? Do you currently have, or is that gonna be consolidated into your new position?
So the plan is for me to continue in the function that I'm currently in, providing support to marketing efforts across the department, as well as some of the business intelligence efforts that we spun up over the last year. But also be, in that deputy position.
Okay.
Yes.
So the answer is we do have a vacant administrator position, but we do not intend to fill that in the near term because we have some other potential needs for that position. So we're just holding on to that for the time.
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Markham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make a comment that I'm very happy to see us putting people specifically toward grant writing. There's been such a need here across the county, and the best place, I think a good place for them, I won't say the best because I don't know, but a good place for them is embedded in the departments because we talked about, do we need a department that writes grants? But the fact that your department and Veteran Services and all of that is really specifically putting a person in, that's their job. I'm glad to see that. So thank you.
Indeed. Commissioner Woodward.
Yeah, I just to echo the comments of my colleagues, particular in workforce development, if you need more staff to be able to get those 5 extra grants to manage under your department, I believe all of us would be very supportive. So whatever capacity is necessary to bring down those additional resources, you have our support. And to echo Commissioner Markham's point, I think it's you've got to build the capacity to manage these things, and when we do, we bring those resources down, and then we can put it into the direct services that our workforce, our local businesses, everything that's necessary from a public sector side to help power and support the strong economy here in Oakland County. So keep up the great work.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Indeed. Well, no other requests to speak, so we'll go ahead and prompt the vote on item C under the regular agenda.
Yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries. Congratulations, and looking forward to better and brighter.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Item D on the agenda, I'll take a motion to recommend to the board Economic Development Amendment of Oakland County Economic Development and Growth Alliance Oakland Thrive Agreement, moved by Commissioner Markham, supported by Commissioner Whitebird.
Adding veterans.
Dom is back.
I'm back.
And the one and only Tyrone Jordan is with us as well.
Yes.
Floor is yours, gentlemen.
All right, thank you. So the item before you today is a amendment of the Oakland County Thrive agreement that we have in place. We are fortunate to have a $500,000 grant for the Veteran Services Division. That includes about $159,000 for marketing purposes. That would entail things like radio advertisements, digital media advertisements, billboard advertising, direct mail, social media, print media, and promotional items. What we are seeking to do is bring that scope of services under the existing Thrive agreement to get the most out of that existing agreement. And this has implications for a lot of the things that Tyrone works on, including our Veterans Resource Fairs, which have become increasingly popular over the last year due to his work. So those are routinely averaging, I believe, over 300 attendees, if I'm not mistaken. And this is also part of an effort that we undertook some time ago to move event planning as a function out of the county department. What we don't want our staff doing is spending time developing events that we could, move under an existing agreement. We also don't want our staff chasing businesses for sponsorship opportunities because we do want to reserve that personal capital for the times when we go in and we need to work closely with them and deliver resources. So this is an opportunity to get more benefit from an existing agreement we have in place with Oakland Thrive. And this also is just a really good way to leverage their existing event planning and marketing capabilities as an organization. So I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Well, also with some of the existing opportunities that Thrive is working on, it'll benefit Veteran Services because we could piggyback on some of that.
Yeah, I would say one of the other things that we learned recently is that there is interest in sponsoring the Veterans Fairs. So we would love, again, to have that outside entity be working on courting companies that are interested in doing that and not, again, using our personal capital for that.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Rahman, followed by Commissioner Woodward.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick comment, I know we talked about this during budget hearings and this was sort of an area that we needed to develop, so I'm so glad to see this come through. I think this is much needed and would be great to help, promote what we're already doing. I've been to a couple of the veterans fairs and as you mentioned, I think they're just continuing to grow.
Yes.
The more we can spread the word and get folks in the loop on these type of events would be huge. So I'm really glad that's what's done.
Yes, as am I.
Okay.
Yes, Smith.
So just for clarification, the $159,000, this is part of the overall Michigan Veteran Trust Grant. This was the money set aside in that grant. So when does that grant cycle expire?
September 30th, 2024.
2024, okay. And there's a formula, that we become eligible. So like Veteran Affairs is holding the transit dollars and the other types of services that we draw down from the grant. This is just about transferring the comms, the marketing tools over to Thrive to be able to do it.
Yes. So Thrive would actually market the transportation program for veterans, the resource fairs, and all of the other things.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you all. I will go ahead and prompt the vote. Item D.
Come up on a minute.
Who's come up?
No, maybe because I'm on the next agenda
You're not on
screen.
that. That's why I haven't looked at that.
Yes, just I'll vote out loud. Mine didn't come up because I was looking at another agenda item. I hate that. You're on the other page. I'm looking at
That motion carries, gentlemen, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Next is item 10E, Facilities Planning and Engineering Fiscal Year 2024. Board of Commissioners, accessible toilet room renovation. I'll take a motion.
I'll move it.
Commissioner Rahman, moved by, supported by Commissioner Weipert. And yes, this is a discussion about toilet rooms.
Much, yeah.
Long time.
I know, man.
Long overdue.
21 years ago, we said about this.
Did you?
I think so.
Way back when, there was some votes with.
They have a little placard they're gonna put over one of the commodes for Whitmark.
21 years.
Constituents here, they just meeting. and
So you wait until after we buy
Hello,
into the building
Jason.
to fix this?
Good to see you IRL.
Yeah. Since she's been here, since she's been here.
We're a little meeting giddy, so we'll try to pull ourselves together, but welcome, and if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself for the record.
Sure, yeah, good morning, I'm Jason Warner, I'm the manager of planning and engineering with facilities management.
Thank you, and today you've provided us with an opportunity to approve some things with our toilet rooms. Go ahead and just a quick little breakdown if you don't mind.
Yeah, so this is in the capital improvement plan for the 23 fiscal year, and it is to renovate the toilet rooms right outside of the committee room A here. It will improve accessibility, ADA compliance, and then it will also convert the toilet rooms into all gender toilet rooms. So the existing men's room will be a single occupant all gender toilet room. The existing women's room will be the same. The door to the existing women's room will be relocated to the side hallway. A janitor's closet will be made there, but then it will allow for the proper clearances and trading spaces inside. The total project cost is estimated at $207,413. Allied Building Services will be the main contractor. They're one of the competitively bid, pre-approved annual general contractors that we have. So.
Terrific. I want to inquire, as I just checked to see if any folks have requested to speak. You call them gender neutral bathrooms? Is that what the term?
All gender.
All gender.
Yeah.
And so some may refer to those as like family style, where And so my question is the external door a lockable door?
Yes.
Okay, and so it's really one individual or family at a time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, for
I like that.
specifically for these, only because there's only one toilet fixture in there.
One toilet fixture. Okay, very good. First up, I have Commissioner Rahman, followed by Commissioner Markham.
Thank you. So as I think Commissioner Johnson had mentioned, obviously it's great that we're moving forward with this. But given the timing of, the new Pontiac property and what may or may not be happening as it relates to this department, is that in contemplation? And, I don't know what the time frame is to move forward with this project and how all that gels together.
Yeah, so it is in consideration. Timing for this project, we're looking at starting roughly the end of January with a 12-ish week construction period. Of course, coordinating with the board office and around other meetings. So, we haven't still identified every department or all the departments that will move down to Pontiac, but just knowing that the auditorium here is very specialized for its purposes, we still thought it made sense to improve the facilities here.
And what is the time frame for it being down? I know you said end of January, how long?
About 3 months, yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Markham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to say thanks.
Yes.
You're actually gonna get this one done and I appreciate it. I have learned since I got here about the bureaucracy of the county and the process that things have to go through, because we've been asking for this bathroom to be changed for a few years. And I know you've been working on it and I'm really glad to see it come to conclusion, so that's really good. I came here with a constituent before I was even on the board who was in a wheelchair and yeah, having to, and it was a gentleman, so having to maneuver him and all of that was very embarrassing to me.
It is.
And then, so that's why I've made this the thing I raise a stink about all the time. And I'm really happy that you're doing this, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I know, when we've presented before, anytime we do any construction projects, we bring specifically those areas up to the current ADA standards.
Great. My only other comment is I hope you finish the parking lot before you shut the building down for the bathroom.
Say that again.
Not to throw a dart, but.
Amen.
I'll allow it.
The longest project ever to solve.
This is germane. I'll allow it.
Working out will be over next time.
Great.
Next week.
Thank you.
Next week.
It's gotta be by next week.
Whether it's striped or not.
Okay, yeah, that's great then. Thank you so much, and we'll go ahead and prompt the vote.
They don't have that electric things in either. I mean, that part's taking forever.
You got 8 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Next is item 10F, Facilities Management Approval and Acceptance of 2024 Joint Project Agreement with the U.S. Department of Commerce for use of space located in Annex Office Building, or Annex 1 Office Building. Hello. Thank you. Moved by Wyper, supported by Johnson. Paul is with us today.
Yes.
Hi, Paul.
Welcome.
It's been a busy year, that's for sure. It's been a lot going. I know it's been a busy year for me. So this is from the 2023 JPA that we just passed last month, which was kind of retro. We wanted to get the 2024 going. And just to give you a reminder, the Department of Commerce Export is now going to be paying rent. And the rent is based on the Board of Commissioners, the cost that facilities calculates. So the JPA is for 2024, the fiscal year, October to September 30th. And it's in Annex 1. Their personnel has been reduced and we reduced their size. So we still have a termination clause in there, which is 90 days in case facility decides they need to use that building or that space. So if there's any questions about what Department of Commerce does, Jean is here.
Yes, I'm
And-
only here to provide support.
And really, so this, and again, they only allow 1-year agreements, so each year we have to come back and renew.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Jeannie. Commissioner Rahman has a question?
Yeah, sorry, just a quick one. I was noticing that the term was from October first, is that correct? So
Yes,
this is
it's fiscal, and again, we hardly ever get it right on the date just because of the complexity of the federal process too. But they've approved it, signed it, and we have a signed agreement that we can now have.
Which is all fine, I'm just curious, only because now we're 2 months into the contract
Yes.
already. So I just didn't know if that poses any problems or any logistical
Nope.
issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Doesn't look like it. We can go ahead and prompt the vote on item 10F, as in family.
This is from.
Yes.
Which I thought was nice. Oops. Where does the money go? For the transit.
You have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries.
Thank you.
Looks like Paul will be staying there for item G, which is the facilities management approval and acceptance of the First Amendment to Easter Seals Mork lease. And I'll take a motion to recommend that to the board. Moved by Markham, supported by Whiteford. Thank you. Thank you. Introduce your.
Yes, this is Jeff Kamboa. He's with Easter Seals and is the main point of contact that the county has had in their developing the new building and the plans and all. So we've already approved a new land lease for their area. The Easter Seals have been on the county property, to remind you, for a long, long time. I think it's over 40 years. And their commitment to a new building and new technology and services for all of their clients is gonna be in this new building. So really what we're just doing is amending the land lease to have Easter Seals do their own services. So in prior to this, just so you know, the existing building, the county does some services and keeps track of their HVAC and that type of thing. But now in this new building, Easter Seals has decided that they want to do all of their own services. So the only thing the county's gonna do is trash removal. And then once the building's demolished and they build a new building, they're gonna do their ice, snow, lawn, grounds, that type of thing. So really this amendment just does that, changes those two things to allow Easter Seals to do their own.
All right.
That's it.
Pretty straightforward.
That's all.
I don't see any requests to speak. I do.
I'm sorry.
See a request to speak. Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
I acknowledge that this is going to be an annoying question because you're already so far into everything, but I just wanna keep emphasizing this theme of re-energizing downtown Pontiac. Since this is new construction, was downtown Pontiac considered, not necessarily one of our buildings, but was downtown Pontiac considered rather than a remote, far-flung edge of the city of Pontiac? In this case, Waterford Township.
That's a good question for Jeff. However, I know we had supported them with this land lease. They chose to stay in that location and everything works out for them, facilities wise, all the network, all the underground. But go ahead.
Yeah, I will just add to that point. We did, when we had undertaken this plan to improve our site and result in a new building, all options were considered, all localities. And when it came down to it, as Paul has mentioned too, the individuals and families we serve, the current site on a county camp is our best site, our best option for that. And not only does it allow those autism services to occur within the bricks and mortar, but it also takes advantage of the green space that is on that land. And that's an important piece with respect to the autism services delivery, clinical services.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rahman?
So just one quick question, what motivated this change? If we've been here for 40 years, I mean, obviously it's a new facility, but I'm just curious if there's anything particular that sparked this change.
It's a great question. The one thing that has motivated it is the advancement of the treatment of autism at this site. That has resulted in the way in which we provide services to be more present day and future oriented. So the building that was there had different expansions to it, but had never been cohesive enough to do a full array of services around that individual and that family. This allows us to do that. It brings all those modalities, speech, language, therapy, outside play into that service arena.
Thank you for that. And that was a great question. All of your questions are great, by the way. Next item.
She must have drew you for
Commissioner
giving her
Miller.
a gift for Secret Santa.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
She thinks
One
he's got
question,
her.
do they,
Mr. President.
you know, if this is not about the project, it's more about the autism part. Do they do any training for families to deal with autistic children or young adults? 'Cause I know that's one thing that, I have an autistic nephew, and I see that's the thing that we're having to educate people, because it's a different way you have to deal with them, right? They don't
Yes.
sense the same stuff as we do.
Excellent question. Yes, we do. Short answer is yes. We have BCBAs that are hired. We have a director that's responsible for the site, and we also have trained technicians that work one-on-one with our individuals. The parent treatment training module is an important aspect with it. So much to the point within the new building, we have parent or debrief areas or rooms that we can have parents or caregivers a part of. So it's a vital component to the
Do
treatment.
you do any family training?
Yes.
It's not there, okay. I'll reach out. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That means we can go ahead and prompt the vote. Item G.
You have 8 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries. Thank you. Keep up the good work. We appreciate what Easter Seals does.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Okay.
Without further ado,
Yes.
we are at item H on our agenda, and we will continue these as separate items.
Really, okay.
Best thing to do? Okay, very good. And I'll take a motion to recommend this to the Board of Commissioners Board Policy for Township Subdivision Road Special Assessment District Partnership with the Road Commission for Oakland County, moved by Whitebird, supported by
Not this one.
Chris, I need Jim.
supported by Long.
Yeah. You people against townships.
We're not against.
Unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand the difference if they
I'm
don't
just kidding.
I think that's all we need before we'll
Kidding.
throw the microphone over to you all. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. So as you guys all know, this was budgeted for and the program itself was approved back in early summer. So this, before you, the first item sets board policy for what is supposed to be a kind of a pilot program to see how this goes. So here is the first part is the policy. Do you wanna go into detail with it?
Sure, and I want to commend Commissioner Joliet, who has helped lead, working with other colleagues, a bipartisan effort to address this. It's important to set up the stage about, there's some things mentioned about public comment I want to address. We are not talking about Oakland County-owned roads. Like, Oakland County government does not own roads. The only roads we actually, I guess we technically own is the ones on this campus. that we're talking about roads under the jurisdiction of the Road Commission for Oakland County. And that's an important distinction because this county, despite that, has done more than any other county in the entire state that has a road commission in terms of allocating general fund dollars and additional dollars to help improve roads, maintain roads than, again, like I said, than any other county. We have a longstanding tri-party program that's been very successful. That is additional dollars we bring forward to work on county roads in partnership with the Road Commission in local communities. The newer program, the Local Road Improvement Program, working with cities and villages that, where a lot of those roads don't currently exist. And this effort brought forward because of these big, we're calling, neighborhood roads, like that fall within townships that are under the jurisdiction of the Road Commission that are not main thoroughfares that often are not chosen as the project that tri-party and other things are. And we can all agree that we need to improve the infrastructure in this state. We need more road funding in this state. We can have an entire month-long conversation around Act 51. That's not what this is about. And some of us would like to have that conversation. That's not what this is about. This is about trying to bring forth additional resources to be a catalyst to advance one mechanism to help do this, and that's the facilitation and support for SAD creation to fix road projects as they come up, realizing that we can't shoulder the burden of this, and we've allocated some money over the next couple of years to be able to plan, over the next couple of years to do this. And so that's the important context. The proposal in front of you, and I encourage everyone to refresh, because based on feedback, the goal for simplifying, the objective is to try to take these dollars and stretch them as far as possible, with an emphasis of density, particularly to provide as much support to moderate and low income areas as possible where the burden of SADs is harder. But also recognizing if you go through this process, there should be some benefit of it. It is Commissioner Joliet has schooled me about the length and the time and the complexity of all of these, to go through this entire process, as well as I've talked to a number of township officials who've either done this in conjunction with the Road Commission or done it with partnerships with other entities. The recommended policy of going forward and realizing that we're kind of doing them when some of these were already in the queue. An emphasis on catalyzing and being the thing that tips the scale that, if I'm on the edge of participating, that maybe this helps move it along, so be it. I'll end the policy, but I think the other important thing to mention that these are county general fund resources. These are not road commission dollars. This is a program being designed by Oakland County to add additional dollars that are not required by law, but intended to help move towards helping fix and improve more roads. So the recommended policy would be that anyone who goes through this process, there is a guarantee of $50,000. That would be allocated to projects that are recognized, that the Road Commission recognizes that a SAD's been created and they've facilitated that entire process. For those areas with a density of 75 homes per mile or greater, can receive up to a maximum of $250,000 or 25% of the overall project. And then again, that this is, would be applied, we're gonna apply it to projects that were already in the queue. I would argue that these projects would this round would probably, most of them would continue because they were already in the queue, but because we do have some dollars allocated, it doesn't allocate the full $2 million. Those dollars are available for future allocation to focus on, ideally and optimally, because I know this is a priority for many commissioners, the more densely populated projects. So those dollars will roll over, and we will be evaluating this. And then the test of, I think, this commission and this county is to see, does this result in more projects being advanced forward? And if not, then we go back to the drawing board, we fix Act 51, and we figure out, a much longer term plan. So these projects need to adhere to prevailing wage laws, adopted by the state of Michigan. And the timeline for construction is for the 2004 construction season.
Correct, for this
For this allocation. Yeah.
We have a question.
As you also mentioned, the Road Commission has while not contributing cash to these projects, is contributing in-kind.
In-kind
Their
service,
in-kind, so their
engineering
engineering services towards this project. So there is a contribution of staff resources and technical expertise to help support these projects going forward.
Thank you. I have Commissioner Long, followed by Miller, followed by Rahman.
Okay, so I gotta get a little up to speed on this program. So on these particular 6 or 8, potentially 8 projects, I think there's 6 and then 8. How did they, so they had to they be SAD ready, which I just found out today. So how did the road commission contacted these people? How did the people get contacted?
So I'll answer that question. That's the next item though, so do
Okay.
you wanna, but I can answer that question. So the SAD process, you have to go get signatures, it's 2.
Right, I get that
So
part.
yes, the road commission gave us a list of
Okay.
projects that went through the whole that went through the 2 signatures, all homeowners that signed were eligible, blah, 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 yes.
Okay, so they knew, the road commission
Oh,
knew
yeah,
the
that's where
SAD,
the
you know,
list-
I get how to do SAD, I just wanted to
I
know.
believe it starts there's interest here, and then
Okay,
they take it to
right,
the next
and then they
stage,
have
it
to
goes
get their
here,
sign-
and then Les gets signatures, and then
Right.
it gets whittled down, and people say we're gonna go or we're not gonna go.
Okay, and then, I think this is
That's
on
the
that,
end
what
of my
was my next one?
sophistication project.
Oh, I know my next one, it's as a policy, I'm trying to keep it to the policy, tell me if it's the next one, but, so after these get the one time or the 250, is it a one time or can these, same ones apply again?
One time per project.
Okay, so these projects, you know, if they're 2 million or if they're 250 is what they're getting. And then it would open up to other SADs in
So those-
2025.
Yes, so those roads, should they get, again, these are the projects that are supposed to go forward. The road commission will still have to go out for a bid for material, and hopefully that those stay within that range and they move forward.
Okay.
And those roads are warranted for 10 years, so there's no way that those people should come
Okay, so it'll be a new bunch of projects in
Yes.
20, and then the rest of the monies will carry over, and then it will be up to us board policy to say if we wanna fund it again for 2 million in our next budget cycle, correct?
So
Right
it's
now,
already
we
been,
did 1
it's
year.
already been allocated for 2024, so we've got.
1 year we only did, right?
Well, we did 23 and 24, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so this is 23,
Okay.
allocation for 24. We
Okay.
didn't-
So and then 25, next budget, we'll decide, hey, this is a good program and allocate what we want, what we feel fit if we want to.
Yes.
Okay, that's my questions now, thank you.
Next is Miller, followed by Rahman, followed by Johnson, followed by Marshall.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next.
So, quick question. So when I originally moved to Farmington Hills, there was, when you talked about the petitions, right? I had no clue this happening until 6 months later, all of a sudden I get, here's 10 grand road assessment, right? Which the road needed it. I'm a road guy, so I was happy to oblige. And one thing I've always talked about, and I know this isn't popular in many conversations, is how do we get the better than 50 community, some kind of assessment at the end of sale or something, because the one thing great about Oakland County, because people stay, right? We're a county where people stay in their homes, and it's like a good problem to have, right? We're safe communities, so we have to fix our roads, that's a reality, especially in the subdivision, townships, cities, villages that can't afford them. I don't know if anybody's reached out to Farmington Hills, because they went away from the signatures to, I believe it just added to the taxes. I moved out when they changed it, then moved back in. And now they do something different where every road gets fixed and they look at the criteria where they're at, right? So I think that's something we should look at as this goes on after, for the future years, because we gotta figure something out. We don't want our better than 50 community to be kicked out of their house or lose their houses, right? Doesn't matter what community they live in, rich or poor. We just wanna make sure that the roads are good for the next generation going forward and for our vehicles and for businesses, right? Businesses move in, new employees come in, that means new residents of Oakland County because our roads are good. So that's one thing I just wanna make sure that we look into that.
So I can address both those, I remember this. So as far as people not getting taxed out of their home, when I was on the Waterford board, a number of streets that had the SADs that could get through, which there weren't a lot, there were a lot of seniors that couldn't afford the assessment, and the assessor's office has a form that is filled out. It's a very easy form. Should you qualify, it's a deferred SAD. So you don't pay it until your home sells. And then when the home sells, the township gets their part of the SAD that was deferred. So that's how Waterford Township handles it. It came from the assessing department. I don't know if other townships, cities, villages do the same thing.
I don't believe so, but I believe maybe we should look into adding that to this, you know.
I can get you a
grant.
form of, it's a very simple form to fill out. You have to qualify financially, of course.
Yeah.
For that too. And the other item about a road assessment, cities are good. They have a tax included. Townships are capped at 11 mills. 10 mills, thank you. I was close. So they can't, without going through a township-wide special assessment, which is a whole nother ordeal. Some townships have been able, like, I think 1%, to be able to do that, but that's my.
And I would add to it, I mean, I think that like public financing in general, whether it's for roads or services and everything, I think there's an overhaul to look at that too. I mean, change the law, change the state constitution if necessary to allow communities to raise the revenue necessary. I think you bring up a point. I mean, in my neck of the woods, it was like everyone would get assessment for sidewalks. And so if you were at a corner lot, you got dinged because you had so much more sidewalk than your neighbor. Yeah. That doesn't make sense when we all need to walk on the sidewalk. And so the city moved to a situation that we're all gonna pay part of a road sidewalk millage. And we all pay every year towards this, and the city spends its time trying to distribute it. So I think coming up with creative ways to sustain, the bottom line, we need more funding. I mean, no one's denying that we need more funding. We gotta figure out a way to be able to do that. That doesn't create the unnecessary burden on individuals, but build that infrastructure. Because here's the reality, if we don't maintain the infrastructure, it's more expensive to fix. Right. Period.
Every year you wait.
I mean, coming back to the policy, and one thing, and I mean, since this is like structured as a policy, and because like this is kind of the first that we're doing it, I would recommend, I mean, if there's someone would be willing to make a motion on the project initiation timeline. Instead of saying projects utilizing these funds must commence construction within the calendar year 2024, why not we say something like should commence construction within a year of funds being appropriated? Because that allows it to be more just going forward, but within the calendar year following.
I'm gonna keep us in order though, just in case of thoughts that came to mind. So Brendan, Commissioner Johnson, followed by Markham, and then, were you in the queue?
Listen, I didn't push my button.
Sorry.
Were you before me? I feel like I saw your name.
Faster than you
Yeah,
in Jeopardy.
go ahead, Commissioner Rahman.
So, no, you're fine.
I might have to
Thank
add
you for explaining this. I guess I just wanna better understand, obviously being new to this, I know this was going on last year. So I applaud your efforts and I understand where it's coming from. I think it's great conceptually. But where I'm having a little bit of difficulty understanding, so 23 was the first year we did this, 24 would be year 2.
No, so 23 was the year that it was initiated to allocate money. So next year will be the first year that any money is applied or even done anything with. So it was budgeted in 23, but wasn't to be used till 24.
So if we've already allocated the 2 million, I guess now why are we holding back the 706? I understand conceptually we wanna pilot it, see if it works. But if we've had 8 communities or more that have already sort of said, hey, look, this is kind of what's been proposed, they've done the work, they've got the signatures, all of that. I guess I'm just trying to understand why at this stage we're now saying, hey, look, we're gonna pull back a little bit.
It's not pulling back, it's, I mean, emphasis on density and particularly with a focus on moderate and lower income areas. And this is the priority of our caucus to make sure that those things are addressed.
Sure.
And so that's, those dollars will be the purpose of this program was to incentivize more of these things from happening. These projects were already in the queue. Like, so this money didn't actually, well, I guess there are some, Commissioner and I have discussed, like, I'm frustrated to a certain degree in which it's been it's been known and publicized that we were looking to help work with townships. A structure and how that wasn't, I mean, it was like the cart got put a little bit before the horse, before this is how it's going to be. We want to help encourage this, and
So promise wasn't made necessarily to anybody at this point.
There was
It
no
was
promise.
just saying, hey, look, this is what
That
we're.
we had the money set aside and we were gonna use it for these projects. But an amount was not promised to any certain community.
And that number of 75 that was mentioned earlier in public comment too, that was always in consideration, or is that relatively new? I understand the density.
It's a compromise. It's a compromise. I mean, I think there's like those that want more.
Of course, understood, and I get that. But I guess, 74 versus 75, I mean, is that truly a realistic? I don't know, and if it's, to your point about areas that are, things like that.
It's loud though.
I understand that portion too. I can't help but notice, and I know it's Commissioner Julia's baby and all due respect, but it's, $250,000, as we know, doesn't go very long.
Oh gosh, this number should be, no, but
Understood,
it's all.
understood, and I get all of that, but I guess my only point in saying is that, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 6 approved projects all in Waterford. I don't know enough about the other townships and where they are, or, is there conversation to be had about other townships that might be also of high density,
So, this is available to all Oakland County townships. It's a process to get a special assessment district.
Right.
It's a big process.
And I think promoting this to more and using it and not allocating all the money now and rolling that over so that we can go after those more dense projects and incentivize participation is the ultimate goal. To get more of this day.
do we want, I guess my only question, and going back to our public comment, and whether that decision is made today or not, I don't know. But if we're talking about these other two, we're talking about 500,000, which still leaves, 206,500 available. I mean, is that something that we're considering, or are we just holding back for now? Just
Well, so a modification is to $50,000 per any project. So that doesn't qualify above the 75%. So if you, in the document here in your packet, 50,000 for any project, up to 250,000 for those in the more density, the higher density.
So
Thank you.
next one.
We got a cohort of questions here. So next is Commissioner Johnson, followed by Markham.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I will be voting yes, and that's out of respect for both of you, and the fact that I am a freshman and that this decision was made before I got here. But I do wanna say, and this is not to reflect on you, but I fervently disagree with this policy. And my disagreement is consistent with how I feel about other things too. If you'll recall when we did our SRO, policy making in the summertime, I gave an impassioned remark about how I very fervently disagree with the extraordinary appropriation of public monies to support private goods. Now, I spent the vast majority of my youth growing up in actually Oakland County's oldest township, Oakland Township. They were founded at the same time. Half of the county was Bloomfield Township, half of the county was Oakland Township. Gradually, they got whittled away to their respective 1/36 of the town or of the county. We always said that we lived in Rochester, which is the first European American settlement in Oakland County. And I represent two of the newest cities in Oakland County, Auburn Hills and Rochester Hills, which were both established as cities in the 80s after being Pontiac Township and Avon Township respectively. Both of those names, especially the Avon, is used a lot in the Rochester area still. We still use the word Avon a lot. So I feel like I see this on a lot of different sides. And speaking at least for Rochester Hills, as a resident, as someone who works with the administration a lot, there is a way to do this, and all of us who are taxpayers in Rochester Hills pay in to support all of our city-owned roads, and that feels the appropriate thing to do. My parents live in a subdivision in a township. That's the house that I grew up on in Oakland Township, and I feel for that. I respect that. I'm sympathetic to that. But in terms of policymaking, I think that this is a generally bad thing to do. I'm eager to explore this pilot, curious to see how it goes, and I will support this, but I just want to be on the record to say that I disagree with the policy. So, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Commissioner Markham.
Yes, well, I pretty much feel the same way that Commissioner Johnson does. I live in a city we have a millage that we vote on every 10 years to fix our roads. And it's not a small number. And so to think that I'm paying to fix my subdivision roads, which for me, for the first time in 28 years, got fixed this summer. For me as a taxpayer then, to be subsidizing neighborhood roads in areas where they're not raising the money to fix their own roads. I, like Commissioner Johnson, I feel there's a disparity there. On the flip side of that, we are a bipartisan commission. This has been a priority for one of my colleagues. She's done a great deal of homework. She has been supportive in other areas where it was a priority for us. I really appreciate that in our commission. I do. I think the Republicans and the Democrats work really well together. This is not something I would necessarily have supported if the homework hadn't been done. So I am in support of this, but I want to be on record with, I think the whole process needs to be fixed longer term. You know, the state needs to recognize that there's neighborhoods out here who their roads are literally turned into gravel because they haven't had any money to fix them. So I think it's a big issue. I'll support this. I don't like it. So there you go.
Thank you, colleagues. Commissioner Long?
So I'm on to Chairman Woodward, I think he was proposing amendment, maybe. But so on that number 4 timeline, I am wondering that if the construction isn't done within, you wanna change it to year, can those same projects, it might be needed to be added into the policy, can they reapply or not reapply? Do we wanna say that?
We said they can't, right?
So
I mean, I think it might
on the
be-
fly,
should be in
and maybe
here,
this is something we have to just modify.
Maybe we need
slightly,
to be in there though.
The road commission needs to have input on this.
So there well, go ahead.
Okay.
Why don't you explain like the
Oh, the
moving part.
SADs can only stay live for so long, and if they
Okay.
don't happen, then you need to restart the process. So in my opinion, if you applied and you got the money and the project happens, you're done.
Right.
There's no need for it. You got a
Okay.
10-year warranty.
Okay. So I just wondered if, the reapply thing needs into this policy under number 4 somehow.
Yeah, I mean, the
If it
goal
doesn't go
here is
through.
that this should begin in the next construction season. I
Okay.
guess if there is some sort of, I mean, again, I don't know how long an SAD can it last 18 months? I mean,
I don't know.
as long, maybe that's what the answer is, as long as it begins within the SAD approved period. But we can get that,
We might wanna add that.
We can do that, we can do that on the floor.
Okay, we might wanna add that, that's just one of my thoughts, and another thing, but we might not need it, cause Commissioner Juliet's saying about the SAD expiring and stuff, but we might wanna also add something that they only can apply once, just for clarity. Even though the SAD goes so many years, only the road commission knows that. This is a Board of Commissioners policy. We might wanna put to that policy something like.
There's only a one-time award.
One time, I would feel better with the policy stating that than someone coming back, a community saying, your policy didn't say that. This is all new.
Why don't we do this? Like, so to address that point and this question of when the funds have to be used.
Correct.
If we can advance this to the floor, we'll do an amendment on the
And
floor.
I just wanted to bring those 2 amendments,
those things, so staff-
maybe we need to make them clear. Thank you.
Mike Keys is taking the notes here, so I mean, something
Okay.
that speaks to like only goes towards project and a one-time per project. And basically
there's
when the funds
timeline.
have to be used, and so it could be
Correct.
done in,
Something in
it
the
has to be done
timeline.
within the expiration period of the
And then they
SAD.
can't reapply or something, yeah. Something, I think we need to add to that. And I'm okay to support it, but I think we need to work on it a little bit before it gets to the board floor. Couple tweaks. Thank you.
Awesome, so it's my understanding that that will be taken up at the board meeting if this moves forward, so. Is that everyone? I see no more names, okay, great.
Do you wanna loop the 2 together? Or no?
Well, we already have the motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can do it either way. If you-
It's okay, we'll do 2. Yeah.
Sorry.
So let's go ahead and prompt the vote on item H under the regular agenda.
This isn't the fun thing, this is the policy.
We would get to like
The next one's the fun.
Don't forget to vote and hit submit.
Commissioner Wong?
No.
No, I already canceled my 11 o'clock.
You have 8 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion carries. Thank you. We'll hastily move into item 10I, which I'll require a motion, Board of Commissioners appropriation for Township Special Assessment District Road Repair Partnership Program. This is a recommended forward to finance. Moved by Miller, supported by Rahman. Thank you. Ms. Joliet, the floor is yours.
So based on the policy that was just approved, this is how the distribution falls out.
Thank you.
I don't know if you have any questions.
Yeah, no, I put my request
And the good news is, many of you will see this again in the next meeting. So
let's hash it out now, so that meeting doesn't last till dinner time.
Oh, I see some names. Christine Long and Gwen Markham in that order.
Yes, I still don't quite understand the 50,000 only for Bloomfield Village. I get it, it's 74, but homes, so it's one under, but I would like to make a motion, I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere here, to have those 250 each, like the other two. For Bloomfield Village number 1 and Bloomfield Village number 2, for the 250,000. And then we'd still have, like Commissioner Rahman said, we'd still have 206,000 still on the kitty. So that's my motion, I don't know if I have support, I'll probably try it on the floor too. But I just feel like they applied to, they have a huge project, their projects are bigger than anyone else's. Their total projects are, they need me for their commissioner, huh? Just kidding. But no, their projects are, what was it, 10 million? Their projects are more too, so I don't see how we only gave them 50, I know that it's amendment now that we got 50,000 instead of 0, but I would like to amend it to 250. I do not know if I'll have support or not, but I'm hoping I'll have support for discussion.
I'll support it for discussion.
I'll speak.
And then I hear.
So,
Go ahead, Mr. Whitehead.
yeah, discussion is, if you want, you wanna get Dave, I mean, I see we're setting a policy, then we're making an exception right away. And so, I mean, I see that, but I think we should try to sort this out, because they were in the queue out of, there was eight coming out of our COC, so I think we ought to think about that. That's all I want to say.
So, I mean, I think it came up in the conversation about the delicate tightrope to even get this program off the ground. An amendment like this threatens to jeopardize the entire project. So I'm gonna vote against the amendment. I appreciate the consideration. Again, emphasis on density. The 75 was a significant compromise. I mean, there's many, I know on this board that think that number should be north of 100, and so this was like
74.
that's the, yeah, so that's.
But then how come Otter Hills is 68?
It's 52 under this policy.
You have to look on your.
Oh, homes per mile.
You're looking at the right document.
Oh, okay. Get me back on that.
So if you don't.
I'll leave it, but we'll just see where my thing goes. Thank you.
Any more discussion on what I believe is an
So let me look at your document.
not a, there's a second
You wanted to
motion.
just state her amendment again, just for example.
Yes.
You still want to.
Oh, okay, my amendment would be for Bloomfield Township, I guess it's the 3141 and the 3142 projects, be bumped to 250,000 from 50,000.
Thank you. And that was supported on merit by Commissioner Weifert. Yes.
I get it, let me look at this.
So, I signed up to speak, but my question applies to this generally.
Sure.
So the 622,500 that's left is, what happens to that?
Rolled over to support future funding for SADs that come up in the next round.
Okay, so
On top of the $2 million that we allocate in the last budget.
So it's 2.6.
So basically what we're saying is if you fall under 75 homes, you're $50,000.
Yeah.
Max, it's just a baseline.
If you-
And if you're over 75 homes.
Oh, I get it.
Up to $250,000.
Up to 250,000.
Or 25%.
And the money that's left is because we haven't had enough requests from communities with big numbers of houses.
And remember that, I mean, the design of this project is to incentivize more of those SADs for happening.
Right, so you have to have an SAD. So the fact that we haven't spent all the money partly reflects the fact that not all the communities that might wanna do this were ready to do it because they didn't have the SAD process in place. Is that correct?
A lot of ambiguity
Yeah.
as to the structure of how this was gonna be distributed.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay, back to Commissioner Wong.
Sorry, I think if Phil is good, I'm gonna withdraw my motion right now, cause I'm looking on this and I might have a motion for the board floor, but I would rather further discuss it than sabotage the policy right here, so, you know, I'm looking on this with my data now, and I would just rather, I'll have further discussions in the next week, if he supports the withdrawal.
I'll withdraw that.
But I would like to discuss it further with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think that's appropriate, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Anyone else? Markham, did you have anything further?
That was it.
All right, well, the original motion, as it's listed there, we'll go ahead and prompt the vote on item 10,
And everyone else's.
10I.
You know, new policies and spending a lot of money takes a lot of
Right.
sausage making.
I can talk.
That's one way to put it.
That motion carries. Thank you all for that. Thank you, Commissioner Joliet.
Thank you.
For all your hard work as well.
Commissioner
So I
Joliet.
will.
And let's go ahead and entertain the 11th item on the agenda, which is public comment. If anyone's here to address the public. Woodward and Joliet, you're dismissed at this juncture.
Sorry. Sorry.
We're just sitting there. 3 minutes, anything that you'd like to speak about. And let's just keep it down a little so we can be respectful of the public comment.
So I wanna thank those that were willing to entertain considering us, I appreciate it. For those that have mentioned other cities, I really hope that before this comes, people understand the difference between what we can ask for, what a city can. We are completely different. Cities can even make their own laws, like against urban hunting. I cannot. We can only do what the state allows. The state and the federal do not allow us to ask for funding. So the bill, which is the better, building up the infrastructure, I can't apply for any of that. But every city and every county can. So please understand that difference, because hearing that discussed about, well, Farmington Hills does this and so does this, none of those were townships. So that crux of this discussion of the differences, anybody from a county or a city can reach out to the federal government and reach out to the state for help, and I cannot. I can only reach out to you. So I'm begging you, and again, saying, well, it's about density, look at us and look at Durham. You have 3 less total in almost 3 miles. There is not a density difference between us and Durham. There just isn't. That is a semantic that simply dropping it to 74 is not going to hurt, because one of your biggest projects is almost identical to us. We're 2.6, I believe they're 2.5. We're 193, they're 196. You couldn't find more of an obvious differential that we are the same as someone that you also see as important. This also will greatly affect 3 direct projects, because in the village is 1,000 people. This is one of the oldest areas, you are correct, there were 2 townships, Oakland Township and us. We are the oldest, and that is a 75-year-old road built on top of a road on top of a road. It is such a large project for the RCOC, it had to be divided up into 5 phases. Only 2 are here. We are currently fighting for 2 more. There is no way I can get those passed, when again, the only way after so many years I got that one passed was saying if the county could help, they would. And I'm sorry, but comparing us to Durham, they get 250 and we get 50, that will not sit well, because we are just as much in need, and we do have people who are considered low income. Again, my family moved there 50 years ago. They bought that house when it was $40,000. Just because somebody hasn't left their home because they can't afford taxes in a new area, they stay in these homes till they're done. And that's why we have such an old population, because they can't afford to move either. But this will force people out of their homes if we end up not getting SADs passed because of this and not getting any help you can give. $48,000 is a lot of money to be told, well, somebody else who only had to pay this much got almost all of it paid for. but you didn't. That is not fair. I'm just asking for fairness. And again, as a Democrat and a Republican, this is something we all can agree on. And it is frustrating that this shouldn't be partisan. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor.
It's not partisan, I always say that.
Anyone else for the good and order of public comments?
On this.
Seeing none, all right, public comment is closed. And is there any new other business or to come before us? Seeing none, meeting is adjourned.
I will